section in that booklet that really speaks to the core purpose of what we're doing right now and the stories that I'm telling you. Because at the end of the day, all of this comes down to one thing, and it's just character. That's all it is. And the little paragraph that I put in here about character, which you may or may not have read yet, is you can't make a good deal with a bad person. We know that we're all human, we're imperfect, and we're prone to mistakes. But what matters is our commitment to strive for excellence each and every day. Our goal is simple, to be better today than we were yesterday. As leaders, we will always aim to do the right thing, even when no one is watching. Set an example that our community can admire and emulate. We believe that character is not just about intentions, but about actions. Consistently showing up with integrity, fairness, and a genuine desire to build something great. And that is really, truly, that is at the core of what we've built, right? You can build a business with anything, any industry, any idea, any group of people, as long as your foundation is solid. And those are the core foundation components. Character, transparency, what was the other one? Core values. Honesty. Those are the things that I decided from day one. We weren't going to fake it till we make it like the other guys. Because as soon as you decide that you're going to allow fraud or dishonesty or stretching the truth or like the noble fibbing that you have to do to get things out the gate, as long as you decide that those principles are okay, then what's stopping you from bringing them back later when you need them again? But if you start out the hard way, which isn't easy, but if you start out with those principles, you lay the bedrock for the foundation to be built upon. That's why we've gotten so far here today, with nothing to show for it in the beginning, but an idea, a guy who's willing to work, and a guy or two that were willing to see that, put a little cash in, put a little jet fuel on top of that idea, and those principles become what they are today. That's why I want to share my stories with you. I got a lot of stories. They're not all good. Where we left off before, we were talking about my friend Tim. And we were talking about how when my wife and I came back from Asia, we decided we were going to really commit to this project here in Texas, and we weren't going to leave. We're going to stay here, I don't know, maybe get a ranch, maybe a house on the lake, maybe a house on the beach. We've got a lot of diversity here. Geographically in the state of Texas, a lot of beautiful stuff. We're going to stay. We're getting a spot. So we go out to a hotel, one of those things where they set them up. And we sat down, and it was an interesting day. It was June 8th. I'll never forget exactly what day it was because it's kind of a funny day for Tim. And we sat down and we took a look at all the different ones. Of course, we wanted the biggest one that they had. The top of the line model, the one that Michael Phelps himself would be proud to splash. And we applied for credit because we don't have any money right now. We're all in on TEXIT Coin, right? This thing's brand new. It's just getting started. Sure enough, our credit gets approved. The guy, sales rep, comes over, the sales manager, and he goes, "Man, I don't know how you guys got approved. Almost nobody gets approved. Maybe they just say that. Maybe we are special. Maybe we've done a good job of keeping up with our bills and obligations. Whatever it is, we got approved." And the sales guy, this guy Gage, says to us, "What do you guys do?" I'm like, "Oh, bro, it's a long story. We're crypto guys, right?" That always comes along with like this negative, weird thing, right? And he goes, "Well, which one?" I said, "You've never heard of it. Well, tell me about it." "All right, it's called TEXIT Coin. It's brand new. It's kind of like a scam, right? But you're sitting down and selling a hot tub today to the guy that started it, right? Well, I want in." "All right, well, it's $1,000 if you want to get in. It's $995. Okay, I'll get in right now." Hold on. Go home, do some research. But today's an interesting day because if you do want to get in, we're changing everything tomorrow. So today's a really great day to get in. So he pulls out his phone, he sends the Zelle right then, right there, and boom. He was, I think, the very last person to join us under what we call the Founders Club. Months and months goes by. Here and I are in Berlin enjoying the World Money Fair, and I get a call from this guy, Gage, and he says, "Yo, what's going on, man? Is TEXIT Coin really at like 17 cents or something? And what was it when I got in?" I'm like, "Well, when you got in, it was like 2.8 cents. Yeah. He said, is it really up to 17? I'm like, well, yeah, we just went live on BitMart. It's a big exchange, and we got a long ways to go, but I think we're off to a pretty good start. So, well, how do I get more? How do I get more TEXIT coin? He said, well, you can either buy more hash power, or you can earn more hash power, and we'd definitely like to see you earning instead of buying more. So, all right, I got this. And he calls back a few moments later with, what, his cousin? Cousins? Yeah, cousins. I was thinking earlier that he was your nephew for some reason. That's why I said brother, son, or something. Anyway, he calls back a few minutes later with his cousin, also sales manager or VP sales, and higher up in the organization. And there I am outside of a restaurant at 11 p.m. in Berlin, trying to explain TEXIT coin in the cold rain to Tim. And Tim said, all right, I'm in. What's the best way to go? I said, well, a lot of people are grabbing a 6-pack and they're grabbing a couple $1,000 of coins. Great, that's it, that's what I want to do. And that's where it began. And Tim said, well, I'm thinking about maybe getting a little deeper into this deal. I had some bad experiences in the past, so I want to take you and your wife out to dinner. I said, all right. So we got to meet Tim's beautiful wife. We went out to, where was it, Bob's Steakhouse? Yep. A couple months ago now, I guess. Time flies. And we sat down and we went through the whole thing. I thought we did pretty well, right? Up until the very end. And he goes, oh, and just one more question before we finish up. Tell me about Mulligan Mint. And I went, so much for that one. And so, well, it's a long story. We started a business, it got very big, it was very successful, way too fast, almost overnight. We went from brand new, never knew how to make a coin, had no idea, but our vendor went bankrupt, and here we are now in the coin business. We got some equipment, we got some dirty coins, and we're going to figure it out. We moved into our building July 2nd of 2012. It was May 27th of 2013 when I got a picture from our production superintendent of 5 little round silver coins. It took us that long, almost an entire year, to figure out just how to make the blanks. Just how to take the bar of silver and melt it down and then cast it and roll it and punch the blanks out. That's as far as we got in 11 months. We never did it before. I had no idea how to do it. But I just testified in U.S. Congress, and everybody and their brother wanted to invest in this business. It was going to continue to create this honest money, this alternative currency. So there was a lot of excitement for it. We put that money to work. We got big, we got fast, we finally figured it out. Incidentally, I was looking at the picture of these 5 silver coins that our staff had made for the first time while I was sitting on a plane coming back from a meeting in Miami, Florida, where I just sat down with the owner of Republic Metals Corporation, one of the largest refiners in the U.S., that had agreed to bankroll our factory, put silver on our shelf, so that we had a virtual unlimited supply of precious metals, so that we could have an uninterrupted production process and just make our coins. The most important thing that we could have done, I had just secured for us. They just made the blanks and we were off to the races. And I had no idea that within a month and a half of that moment, that the whole thing would come crashing down on my head. And it was a terrible experience for me. A lot of good people lost something in that disaster. My family and I lost everything. I packed a suitcase the moment that I discovered that the trustees and the bankruptcy and the lawyers, all they wanted was everything I had. $10 million worth of assets. Beautiful building, 20,000 square feet in Dallas. Brand new, perfect condition equipment, high-speed coin presses. I mean, stuff that was sitting around in the archives of the U.S. Mint for 50 years. I pulled out, I dusted off, I reconditioned them, and I got them making coins again. All that stuff that was just sitting around collecting dust, anybody could have come along at any moment and grabbed that stuff out of there and started making money with it. Nobody did, except for me. And in less than a year, well, I guess it was a year and 1 day, on July 3rd, I was held, kidnapped as a hostage in Miami, Florida, as this company ransacked my factory, filed a lawsuit in Texas court, and put me into such a legal bind that it took everything that I had to try to work my way through it. I eventually lost everything, and it was a terrible disaster. And to this day, still weighs heavy on my shoulders what happened. When Tim brought it up at the end of our dinner, I go, oh, crap. Thought we had something good going here. My wife and I left, and we went, not so much for that one. Sure enough, another day or two later, he called me up and said, all right, let's talk, let's go. And I'm like, oh, I thought it was dead. You know,
can I say something right there?
Sure.
About that? Because, you know, one of the things I've always done is I like to look eyeball to eyeball with somebody, right? And I want to see who I'm really going to get yoked with and do business with. And if I was going to start spreading this wide and far with all the people that I know and all the people that I don't know, I wanted to feel confident about the project that I was going to be explaining, right? And, you know, I've had failed businesses in my past, and I've had dark times too. What I really liked about what Bobby and his wife, you know, really looked at is he didn't hide from anything. He said, hey, this is what it is. He was very straightforward. And I could sense that from him. And so the reason that I called you a couple of days later is because I felt confident when I left. It might not have felt good for you, and I didn't want to bring you through the ringer, but it made me feel confident of the things that I was looking at or seeing online. And to put a face and to see eyeball to eyeball with you, and to see that you didn't make excuses. You say, hey, it happened, this is where we're at, but look at my track record now, right? And that resonated with me fully. So, thank you.
Good. Thank you. So, I bring that up and I point that out because a couple of things. Number one, you're going to come across it in your conversations from time to time, right? In our Telegram chat group, we've got a little topic there called philosophy and character. I pointed out character as being one of the core things that matters for the success of this business. It's in our manual. It's a really great glossy booklet because it really lays some of these foundational components out in good, explicit language that you can really take some time to understand and digest. But we've got that topic in the Telegram group because from time to time there are going to be things that come up. There are going to be disciplinary actions that have to be taken, quite unfortunately. That doesn't bring us any joy whatsoever, but the commitment that I have is to the health of this organization, to the health of this project, and to hold this little rocket ship of ours together. That's what I got to do. And I learned some really valuable lessons back in 2013 going through that. And I point to that experience and I say, guys, this is part of the reason why we're going to make it this time, as opposed to why it crashed and burnt last time. I was young then. I was very naive. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never been successful like that. It was overwhelming. And I trusted a lot of people that I should have never trusted. I opened the doors and I let a lot of bad people into my world. Because I needed the growth. I needed the success. I don't need it today, guys. You may have noticed that I'm not going out of my way anymore to try to drag people into our idea. We're a lot more selective today than we were back in the very early days. Fortunately, I connected with some great people in the early days that helped to build that foundation that's making this so powerful today. But the point is that I learned a lot from that mistake, and I own it. I made some terrible, terrible mistakes there. Not of morals, but of judgment. And I don't think I did anything wrong back then, but I do think that I went for it. But I got stuck. We definitely grew too fast. We didn't have systems and processes and controls in place. We didn't have security cameras. We didn't have security guards. We didn't even have an accountant to work for us at the time. Just me and my brother trying to figure out how to hold it all together with 45 employees and things walking out the door every single day. And I learned a lot from that experience. And I would have never ended up in Asia if it wasn't for that experience. I left for Asia not because I was on the run from the law, because everyone said to me in the first place, why are you building a factory in America? Nobody built a factory in America. I was Make America Great Again, man, before that was a cool thing to say. So this is all about the community. Someone's got to make the coins. I might as well make them right here with my friends and family and this young workforce of people that just wanted to go and do something cool. And I went to Asia not because I was on the run from anything, but because I know how to build. I know how to create. And when you're building and creating in a land where everything else around you is collapsing, you stick out like a sore thumb. And the lawyers, and the vultures, and the blood-sucking vampires of the business community, they see you and they go, there's a guy that's got no bank debt. There's a guy that's got no liens on anything he's got. There's a guy that's got no one to stand in our way to take everything he's got and put it in our pockets. That's exactly what happened. Once I saw the writing was on the wall, I said, wife, we gotta go. I said to my brother, my best friend, I said, we have to leave now. They're gonna take everything we have. We can't stop them. They carry the force of the law on their side. So we have to go right now. Let's go over to Asia, where everyone else is building factories and everyone else has got skyscrapers going up. You go over to Bangkok or to Singapore, all you can see in the skyline, as far as your eyes will go, is cranes just building another high-rise. Unbelievable growth. I don't know what drives it, but I know that there's that same element, the hitchhikers of the business world, they're over there as well, but they're helping those businesses get started and get funded and find capital and all that stuff. It's a different element over there. When I got out there, I said, this is exactly what I needed. Breath of fresh air, a little bit of sunshine, in a fertile environment where I can start to rebuild my life. It took me a year to find the bottom. And when you go from 10 million to zero, it doesn't happen overnight. It was the better part of a year for me to just make peace with what had happened. It took 2.5 months just for me to convince my wife and my children to come out and join me over there. I didn't know if I was going to be able to hold my relationships together. But I learned a lot, and I did put my life back together. By the end of 2014, less than a year after I left, I signed a contract with the Frazetta Art Museum with a license to reproduce the Frank Frazetta beautiful collection of art and coins, and also I said, maybe I'll try my hand at statues as well. Coins are getting more and more intricate and 3D. Sooner or later, people are going to make a statue and they're going to call it a coin. Let's jump to the finish line and start making statues. And I built the largest precious metal statue company in the world right there in Thailand. And then crypto took off at the end of 2017. I said, wife, pack your bags, get the kids, we're going to Singapore. Singapore is the capital of crypto. We just happen to have something that we made back in 2012, which is all of a sudden very interesting to the crypto community. This little coin that we made with the B in the middle of it, all of a sudden everybody's got that coin on their homepage. It's our coin. What are the odds? So we went to Singapore. We got involved in living there, in the most expensive city in the world. And we didn't just go there to live and have a good time, play with the bankers that are hanging out there. We built a factory there. Nobody does that. It's insane. They don't have a manufacturing district to speak of in Singapore. All that's in China, or Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam. We did it in Singapore. We wanted to have the largest private coin minting factory in Southeast Asia. We built it there in Singapore. And that went great for about 3 years, making our cold storage coins until COVID came, shut our factory down. The government made it so that you're not allowed to leave your house. Well, what if I make my factory my home address? I can sleep in my factory and I can make coins by myself all day, because they fired all my staff. And I had production contracts floor to ceiling because the whole world shut down except for us in Singapore. Singapore said, not us, we're very healthy, we're going to keep going. And then all of a sudden, what was it, April 10th or April 12th, they flipped what they call the circuit breaker, and they shut everything down. And the whole island country, this is an island that fits inside of like the Frisco Island McKinney area, you know, from one side to the other, that's it. And I'll never forget the day that the Singapore government called me and said, your daughter's tested positive for COVID, and they sent the full hazmat quarantine, like biohazard team out, fully decked out, to take her from her hotel and put her into a level 1 trauma quarantine hospital and send me a bill for it. And I said, family, pack your bags. We're out of here. And that's when we came back to the U.S. But if I had never made that mistake back in 2013, if I didn't grow too fast, if I didn't learn that terrible lesson the hard way, I would have never ended up in Asia. I would have never been over there learning all the things I learned about our Asian friends. That they love to gamble, they love crypto, that they love Western culture. There's a lot of great experiences I got just from being over there. really powerful stuff that also has been built into our project to make it successful here today. We haven't gotten into that part of it yet. I cannot wait to come back to you guys and say, guys, pack your bags. Go to Singapore. We're going to Token 2049, the biggest crypto event in the world. Is in Singapore. It coincides with the Singapore Formula One race. I don't know if you guys are Formula One fans like my wife and I are. Favorite driver?
No, I don't think I love Formula One as a Formula One car.
Oh. So I cannot wait until we're able to take our vision, our strategy, our attitude, our culture, put on a cowboy hat, a pair of boots, get ourselves in a boat and go over there and share our story with our friends on the other side of the world. That's our target market. Remember, we manufacture TEXIT Coin here. We want to sell it over there. Why? Because they've got warehouses full of cash and we're bringing it home. But again, guys, if I didn't make those mistakes, if I didn't learn those lessons the hard way, I wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't have figured that out. I wouldn't have seen what I call crypto rich. We walk out of a restaurant and there's 4 exotic cars in Singapore. Now, the price for a Honda Civic in Singapore probably today is $275,000. That's what an entry-level car sells for. So when you walk out and you see 4 exotic Ferraris that you don't know the name or the model number of, each one of them is a $5 or $10 million car, and they're parked there with some crypto logo on the side of it. That's crypto rich. I got to see that. I got to experience that. I got to live it firsthand. I'll never forget sitting on top of the hotel overlooking the Marina Bay, watching Bitcoin hit $20,000 in December of 2017. I was there, the very earliest moments of this. I invited my friend Arthur to come out and see that firsthand. And experience it along with me, and just open his eyes and say, there's something here, guys. There's a conversation here. We haven't figured it all out yet, but just wait. Our time comes soon enough. But guys, more than anything else, this whole thing comes down to character. That's all it is. I want you guys to get to know me. I want you guys to get to know each other. You guys are my leadership. You guys are the ones that have built this thing, that have made this possible, that have put food on my table, that have repaired my daughter's kidney, that have fixed plumbing issues around our house, put my wife in a brand new Jeep Rubicon 392. I want you guys to understand that I've lived a very good life. You know, I lived a great life before I lost everything in 2013. I've lived a great life since then. You know, from hot air ballooning over the Alpine Mountains in, where was it? Estonia or Lithuania? Lithuania. I did, just so you know, I did call a couple hot air balloon companies to find out if they could do a sunset hot air balloon ride for us, and they all said no. Unfortunately, no hot air balloons on this trip. We've been skiing in the Alps. We've had the finest fondue in beautiful restaurants in Switzerland. I've raised my family, my kids homeschooled all over the world on the money that I've earned when I rebuilt my life and put my world back together. I sold my factory in Thailand. We sold the Singapore assets. I sold the factory that I built when I came back here. I put all that money into TEXIT Coin, which I presented to my friends for their consideration, and they decided to come with me for that journey. This has created a lot of wealth and abundance for me. I think it's done probably something similar for most of you as well. But it all comes down to who we all are at the core. We got nothing to hide. We got no reason to. I'll own the successes, I'll own the failures as well. Well, let's dig into it. Let's have a drink or two. Let the good stories come out. That's how it works in Asia, right?
That's right.
The Japanese, the Koreans, they'll take you out and get you all kinds of drunk so you start spilling your guts. That's when the real stuff comes out. So let's get into it. Share your stories, guys. It's all we have, for better or worse. You know, my life has been pretty good. There are a couple things that I regret, a couple things I wish I could have done better or different. But those mistakes that I made, as well as the things that I did well, that have caused us to come together to share our evening together tonight, and our weekend, and everything else that we do in the next couple of days, weeks, months, and years together as we watch TEXIT Coin go all the way up Make it a number.
Yeah. If you want to say something, feel free. The floor is wide open for anyone, everyone. Arthur and I have a really great story I'm not going to share with you right now.
Come on, man.
Maybe on the bus.
I'm going to share it on the bus with you tomorrow. You'll probably hear from him. It's a pretty good story about how we first met, but I've wasted enough of your time with my little storytelling tonight, so we'll save something for later. I got to mention my boy Trey again because he's here. He's been really great for our family as we've been getting this project going, and you're going to see a lot more of him. He's my right-hand man. So feel free to connect with him if you need something. He's a good kid. I was saying earlier to somebody that the world's not making a lot of kids like Trey anymore. You know, they're few and far between. Mason's one of those guys as well. Hardworking, honest. You know, a little rough around the edges, a little goofy from time to time, but I don't know if you remember what life was like when you were 20. I was a bit of a, I won't use the word here tonight, but we all grow up sooner or later, and Trey's off to a great start. So thanks for coming.
Okay.
All right. Enjoy, stay as long as you like. I don't know, maybe there's more food coming at some point. Share a story. You got a story to tell. Feel free. Go ahead.
What?
The bread.
Bread, please.